Welcome back to Twice Half That. I'm Anthony.
And I'm annoyed.
Extremely. Today we're going to kind of jump into some stuff that happened over the last week.
One being the shooting at Uvalde.
It,
Many questions. Many questions.
many.
Like, one, what's up with, everybody in Texas being so, gun touty, and I am too. I'm not gonna lie. I enjoy it. I own them. He owns them. The fucking gun safe's right there.
But that's the thing. You gotta keep it safe.
Yeah, and well, beyond safe, it's you guys, Texas, and I shouldn't say single out just Texas, but a lot of states seem to think that having a background check or, I don't know, having, an age requirement for guns is a bad idea. Like, you people bitching about, weed being legal.
Yeah.
Yet you're going to make it okay for some little 18-year-old to buy a pistol. I know,
Which he legally can't buy.
yeah, like, why? In California, you can't legally buy a pistol. At 18, you have to be, 21?
21.
Shit, maybe even 24.
I think it's 21. It's 18 for a long gun, so shotgun or a rifle, and 21 for a handgun.
And I'm totally in, or what I would like to see is if you are underage, even if you're 21, you part of the background check should be looking at your social media.
Social media, psych eval. I mean, there's, like he said, we both own firearms. We keep them safe. We both have children.
They're
They're locked away, and when they reach a certain age, you teach them to respect it. But that isn't even the point right here. We're both firearms owners. We both support that idea. I don't have a problem having to do a little bit of extra work to be able to own one.
Well, what these simpletons seem to forget is the amendment goes a well-regulated militia. Number one, you're not in a militia. Two, you're not in a well-regulated militia. And, they figured out having a bunch of armed, loosely affiliated idiots running around the county, the state, the region in the country is not a good idea. The Klan kind of showed that on multiple motherfucking occasions, excuse my language. But, there's many ways of going about making money selling firearms and making sure that the community is safe. And especially in, today's climate where a lot of these kids are, they're emotionally stunted. They're overstimulated with too much crap. When, the internet was crazy when we were kids and it was just getting going. And, I mean, how many of us have stories of being in elementary school and going whitehouse.com?
Oh, yeah.
And that was porn. Just because he didn't put .gov, he put .com, it was a website of a cum
And for
fetish.
whatever reason, that one, slipped through the firewall.
The firewalls weren't all that great to begin with.
That's true.
I remember looking up, I think it was breast cancer in 4th grade, and I got shit city. Yeah, I watched a, priest from Germany. This is just where the video was, how they were dressed. And he was literally, at the spout as a fresh loaf was coming out. And yeah, that was a sight to see. And you can only imagine.
You can tell it stuck with him.
Man, and I can only imagine what these Two Girls, One Cup. That's another one we watched, even though I think some people say it's fake. But, still, what's floating around now is a lot different.
What we had then is nothing compared to what's going on now.
There's snuff films going around now.
Oh, yeah.
These kids are watching, people get their heads cut off. That was around when, we were in high school, but Live Leak definitely wasn't around. We had Rotten.com. I can't even remember the other ones. There was a bunch of them. E-Bombs World, what, God, I can't even remember, but there was a bunch
And
of
mind you, this is not us blaming the internet or any other thing for these
No,
actions.
I'm just saying that was around at the very early ages of the internet. Imagine now when, it has just been able to grow at an exponential rate. These kids watch things and they don't understand or fully comprehend what they're seeing. A lot of these kids, now are dealing with the same emotional problems that they did in the 70s. You can't tell me that there was kids that had, the same feelings back then that they do now. We're human. You'd be surprised. We're literally, we still have the same humor we did from back in the Stone Age. You can go back to the time of the Egyptian pharaohs, and there's graffiti of someone being all like, the pharaoh sucks, a mean one. There's pictures of people doing it, the same sophomore crap we still do today. And it's going to be very difficult for humanity to grow when you have people constantly throwing a wrench in the system, because, well, I make a lot of money off of this. They know the outcome. What was his name? Wayne LaPierre, the
NRA president.
The NRA president. That they don't care. Your kids dying mean absolutely nothing to them. Understand that. And I'm talking to gun owners and people who, are in the NRA. I've never been a part of the NRA. I'm not a fan of someone telling me who I should vote for when I'm giving that certain organization money to help protect me. They didn't do that when an NRA card-carrying member was shot by a cop when he did everything he was supposed to. Verbatim. To a T. It's on video, too. Did the NRA come out and defend this black dude?
Nope.
This black member of the NRA? He pays to help, to have them help him and other NRA members that this shit happens to. Where was his defense? Not to mention they tout to be, diehard Americans and patriots. Last time I checked, the Russians never stopped being semi-commie involved, and it's hard to when, that political organization falls. You're still going to have a lot of people involved in it, but look at what we're dealing with now. Putin and a lot of his cronies. Putin's former KGB, mid-level, just what they call him, a commissar, political agent. He was no one special. But all you got to do is get dirt on people, and that's essentially,
that's essentially what his specialty was.
Yeah, and another thing you can do is money. Money talks. You can buy people all the time. The right to repair bill here in California was just killed on the Senate floor because of lobbying. These people, Apple, Microsoft, anybody who makes any type of electronic, any type of anything, they don't want you to repair it because that means more money for them. They're gonna go this business model. You can have it repaired, but it'll be cheaper to just buy a new one. Then they take your old machine, fix whatever was wrong with it, which was probably nothing. It was probably a built-in problem. Then they'll resell it. These people are not to be trusted. I've been saying it for some time. Businessmen are a means to an end. They are not anyone that should be looked at as someone who's some great leader, some great person who can help humanity. They're not. They are literally a means to an end. They are a tool. They should not... The same way you look at drug dealers is the same way you should look at businessmen. Shouldn't trust them.
They're essentially the same thing.
They are the same thing. A drug dealer is going to do everything he can to maximize his profit. You don't think someone who has more money and more education and a more vested interest in making sure that he stays rich and you stay poor, you don't think they're going to stack the deck? Like, come on now, man. And the same thing is with, the same rules apply to selling firearms. You could continue to sell firearms.
Absolutely.
The problem is you guys are so caught up on dumb arguments of age and background check. Why are you afraid to have background checks? Do you not want people to know
I
that
say
a
take it
good
a step
majority
further, and it's
of
not just
white
a background
people
check.
are criminally active? Is that what you're running from? You don't want people to know that a good part of American, the American white race is, they're all on the up and up. You guys are still on this old way of thinking from like the 1890s, where it's the white man versus everybody. And I hate to say, and not every white person thinks this way, because even though his skin is white, he don't count. He's dingy. If you're poor, you are not a part of the group. If you're rich and a minority, and you don't fight for minorities, you're part of the group. They don't care. It's a control mechanism. The best way you know, and you don't have one out there, you have many.
Yep.
And I know this is kind of getting away from the NRA, but they're, all that is that it's ingrained within them. They don't want to stop anything, because it means, power will be taken away from them, which they don't want, which means, they're not going to make a lot of money, because their base group is older white folk, that they can manipulate into believing that, the Democrats are going to come for your guns. Fucking physically impossible. It's impossible.
If it was going to happen, it would have already happened.
Well, and what's ingrained in every American's DNA, every human's DNA, try and take something that belongs to me. We're going to go at it. Now, make that item that is going to be taken a weapon. I mean, the math is fairly simple. And I want to say Massachusetts or somebody tried to institute a gun seizure program, and guess what happened? A lot of cops got met with, I'll forfeit my gun one bullet at a time. They are literally constitutionally not allowed to do it.
All they can do is make it more difficult.
Yes. And, and for people who are on the opposite side of gun violence, most gun violence occurs between me, who hates him, and usually him, who hates me. Or my gang hates his gang hates my gang. And then when it comes to murder, those are usually crimes of passion. And if you look it up, a lot of people tend to die from stabbings, poisoning, strangling, bludgeoning.
Bludgeoning's a big,
A lot
just
of the
blunt force trauma,
a lot of gun deaths come from suicide. Because if you're going to die, what's the fastest way you can think to die? And you can't you don't know how to make an explosive. You're going to get a gun. If you're smart, the smarter ones will get a shotgun because it'll do a better of a job, but a lot of people do pistol. And a good portion of those people, you'd be surprised, humans are pretty resilient. A small portion survive.
Yeah.
And the will to live, even after you've committed to suicide, is very strong.
Because your body doesn't have that same thought process. Yeah. Your body's just trying to survive.
And when, let's take this a step further. We already have a slight dictatorship over the youth. We know that's parenting. I remember it being that way. You remember it being that way. Not quite to, do as I say or I'm going to beat your ass.
I mean, for some people that is the case.
Yes,
but
that is the case.
The vast majority.
But I didn't have that. I was, as I ask you, I order you, then I make you, and then, then I beat you. No, I'm playing. But, that still exists in a lot of children, and you bake into them. Not these active shooter drills. We have to bake into these children a more, I'm going to bring it back to something that's going to be funny. Star Trek. What Gene Roddenberry's vision was a healthier society. That was the utopia he was going for. Some of the stuff doesn't really scale, but a good portion does. And being emotionally stable and understanding when a fellow kid is in trouble and you see someone bullying. Don't be a punk. Hey, you'd be surprised at what numbers do.
Oh yeah.
If there's three cowards versus one bully, there's 3 versus 1.
Most of the time, the bully singles out someone because they're not gonna fight back. The second they start fighting back, it's kind of like, well, fuck, this just became a lot more difficult.
And if everybody regulates that a-hole against that one person, no, not gonna happen. There's one thing where you two got beef, and it's like, all right, you need to handle that. And it's a whole nother when you're just picking on people, like, nah, not gonna happen. And societally,
that's 2 completely different scenarios.
Teachers need to be paid.
Yeah.
Bill Gates, there's no reason you make that much money. Elon Musk, there's no reason you make that much money. I totally believe. I grew up.
Go down that. Yeah.
I grew up in the hood where literally the only way you could make money and make kind of claw your way out of poverty is selling dope. I don't give what anybody says. That is when there is no job opportunities in your area. San Francisco, taking point, when they started doing all this construction.
Yep.
They literally, there are very few San Francisco carpenters actually working on those jobs. And when they do, they hire them for real quick jobs, real fast, so they can meet whatever criteria the city told them to, that they lobbied, paid to get them in here to, have their own construction workers come make money from their home states, and then they go back or go on to the next project in the next city making bank. Meanwhile, the carpenters in San Francisco don't make shit. What do you expect them to do when their profession is carpentry? Anytime, and go ask any carpenter, when you're done with the job, you go to the union hall and you grab a number and you wait for that number to be called so everyone can eat. Yeah, you gotta wait, but that dude that waited for 2 months while you had a job.
Yep.
You see what I mean? These people play these games so they get paid and you don't. Literally when
you got the secretary or the people working behind the desk
literally
in the union hall driving, Mercedes and, BMWs and stuff. And granted, they're not necessarily, $300,000 cars, but they're expensive cars. While you can't feed your family,
that's a problem.
That's a problem.
When all you're doing is pushing papers, and I understand the importance of bureaucracy, but I also understand
it is a necessary job. It's not
I'm
to say it's not.
If I'm the one who builds the building,
if
how
I'm the one bringing the money into
the
union hall, how am I not working?
Well, because I'll just get other people to do it from another state and I'm gonna pay them the same rate that you'd be getting paid. Yet, the company gave me money. And that is a big problem. I guess it's time to go. Bye, everybody. No. And that's a big problem. That feeds into, again, nobody wanting to solve any problems because it's a lot easier to keep the status quo, what it is, because I'm making a lot of money, and that, did she hear it in there?
Yeah.
And that is, it's annoying. Because for them, it's never been a problem. It never was a problem. It's not gonna be a problem. Their kids are protected. They're not, this is something that they're not gonna have to face unless one of these shooters makes their way onto one of their kids' campuses.
And then it's a problem.
And then it's gonna be a problem. I mean, look at what happened with, Full House Mom, and what was it, UCLA?
USC.
USC, you might want to get that.
Yeah, I'll be right back, y'all.
He's getting dinner. The whole allowing these people to basically pay to have their kids put on a scholarship. First off, you already have the money. You have the money to make sure that your kids have the education to try and get there solely based off of merit. Yet you can't do that. That will further erode the stability of the country when you allow people who really don't contribute jack shit, because they don't intellectually anything, and this includes Elon Musk. He's not a genius. Having money and just having the wherewithal to be like, maybe instead of paying the executive, I'm gonna pay the engineer, and then after a certain point he doesn't even do that because he's really go look into him. He doesn't deserve the praise
and
that he gets.
He came from money. His family were handed precious gem mines during the apartheid, and then he parlayed that. I'll give him credit. He invested in the right companies, but that's about it.
But when you have money,
you can afford to take risks.
Doing that, you can do that over and over and over.
But I mean, that's essentially
again.
what that's what I'll give him credit for. Is he took his money and made it into more money. But he's not this engineering genius. He's not this business mogul. I mean, I guess technically he's a mogul. He's not a business genius.
But being a business mogul doesn't mean that you are a business genius. Just because
that's what I'm saying is, I guess he would technically be a mogul, but he's not a genius. He just keeps throwing money at it, and good marketing.
And with the way we set up bullshit economies like the stock market, where he can gain value in his company just off of speculation. I don't like that shit. I don't like, it just being up in the air. That means you could just make shit. How come I can't make shit up? How come he can't just make shit up? And then all of a sudden,
tried.
well, he speculated, and it's all like, no, dude, no. What he has shown is he can barely produce the fucking Tesla cars that he's touted to have been the best. It's going to change humanity. It takes you forever to pump these cars out. Why? Because you treat your employees like shit. You do. I know a lot of them. And yeah, you pay well, but you also make sure that they never leave the fucking factory. Especially if you're Chinese. They're literally forced to sleep. That's your station? Lay down. Oh, it's cold. This concrete's cold. I don't care. If you die, we'll just get another one. That's the way they operate. And that mentality has really, really damaged, the fundamental foundation, got a little distracted, of the nation. Because you get people shooting up, especially these, religious nuts, shooting shit up all of the time. And what is the chief, thing that every conservative comes out with? Thoughts and prayers. And that it's on my last nerve, because at this point I feel that if you are,
well, I mean, and really, if you were giving your true thoughts and prayers, you'd be doing something to try and combat this whole issue, because this is becoming an epidemic, because we are having mass shooting in a very short period of time. We've had 4 or 5 in a 3-week span, and there was one just locally that was thwarted because somebody came forward and said that this person was something was strange going on. It was down the way here in the Bay Area in Fremont. So this is becoming an issue, or not becoming, this has become an issue. This is an issue. And there are things we can do to try and combat this. One, we need to improve the mental health care in this country. Because some of these people, it's just simple that they're not mentally fully capable of being part of society right now. Whether it's a bipolar disorder, whether it's some sort of psychosis, whether they're just outright sociopaths, whatever it is, there does need to be opportunities for them to actually get help. We need to recognize the signs earlier as a society and step in and intervene.
The problem is the powers that be know the solution. They know how to fix it. And it's pumping money not into these oil companies, not into these banks, not into the car industry, not into any of these real estate companies that, inflate these housing markets, implement what's the word I'm looking for? They implement things to help engineer the bubble to collapse. And no, you're not going to do it immediately. You're going to let it grow. You're going to let it get to where it's so big, it's so throbbing, the slightest touch will make it pop. And then
Yep.
us as the average home buyer, we get screwed because they're literally, they will lobby the government to rework the rules so they can take your house. And then now, people like Sean Hannity, people like which he was caught in the last housing market buying 30,000 homes, and then, packaging them up. And then now they're going to sell it to a company who then is going to manage it, and they're just going to be rent. So they believe in the American dream is only they're allowed to have it.
Yep.
That is not what our country was, literally invented for. It wasn't invented so a couple fucking people could hold on to power and be like, oh shit, well, we're basically back, to feudal times where 400 families own the wealth and then everybody else is basically a serf. Because that's what we are. We're serfs. We're just allowed to move around a little bit.
We're just
more.
not tied directly
Here
to
go.
this
Here
land.
go, monkey.
But yeah.
Go have fun. If I give you vacations, I understand you're more apt to just be cool. And now that people are fed up with the fact that I'm working longer for less pay, you know what these companies are doing? They're just buying robots to replace you.
Yep.
And then you're going to go homeless. And you want to know what their business model is? And I want all you racist, all you white supremacists out there, if any of you are listening, get with the game. They don't care about us. We're old hat. You're getting filled in with Chinese immigrants and Indian immigrants. They're making sure that they're being taught something. We're not. I know I'm not. I went to school growing up in the mission. There was a decent amount of Asian kids, yet somehow they all got funneled to the better schools. And I remember this being pointed out by one of my Asian friends. He's like, hey man, his grades weren't that great. But again, he was all like, how come, all of them are up at, Lowell and Lincoln, and pretty much all the Latin and black kids and some of the dumber white kids or poorer white kids got put at John O'Connell, Mission, Marshall, yep. And then all of a sudden, money starts rolling into San Francisco, and and this was a big problem. There was a lot of Asians on Third who would not go to Thurgood. There was very little going there. All of a sudden, money starts getting pumped into that school. Now it's predominantly Asian, and I don't have a problem with them. I'm just saying that you are being replaced. We are being replaced. They don't want you. And I want, the Indians and the Chinese and all the Asian, we'll just lump them in because you're all from the same goddamn continent. When that gets exploited and you start making money, they're going to do the same thing to you and then move on to a whole new group and exploit that group.
Which really, at this point, it'll probably just be automating it. I mean, that's what happened to Detroit. They automated a lot of the fucking car plants and
all
those factory jobs.
They got pissed in the 70s when they were forced to actually pay people.
Mm-hmm.
When unions started gaining strength, and it's all like, no, dude, you have to pay people. Not saying, again, what the unions did in the 70s and 80s was incredibly dumb. You have essentially, I'm getting 8 hours of work. He's getting 8 hours of work. We literally do the same job, same position. I come in for the first 4 hours, getting paid my 8. He comes in for the back 4 hours, getting paid his 8. So the company itself is paying 16 hours of work for 8 hours of work being done. That's dumb. And now the pendulum is swinging back the other way, and we're not getting paid anything. And that is going to continually happen because, we're so polarized, right, left, Democrat, Republican. You people don't see that we're being played against each other. And that, again, a symptom of us being pitted against each other are these mass shootings. This kid who's an idiot, a lot of these incels, a lot of that can be stopped.
That's a big part of it now. Like, a big part of it has been the incel movement.
Which is huge.
That's actually, like, there's been a lot of talk about that, how, these incel groups are some of the largest, quote-unquote terrorist organizations.
And
they're starting to pop up on, like, the federal government, the FBI watch list and shit like that. So this isn't some, new thing. It's been going on for a little while, and these groups are part of the problem.
And mass killings, to be honest, have taken place all throughout human history.
Oh,
There have
absolutely.
been random
It's
acts
nothing new.
of violence. It's nothing new. It's actually getting better because instead of it being, 4 or 5 people going out and committing these acts, it's one crazy dude who's by himself. And now you can't. It's harder for them to physically get with their tribe. They do it online, and this is what the point I was, alluding to earlier, where see something, say something.
Absolutely.
And anybody who's friends with an active shooter who, without a doubt, seen what that person put and didn't say anything, we need to add a new little thing to the RICO Act where those people now,
Yep.
I'm not saying that they need to go to jail for 20, 30 years, but should
there
have
needs to be some
at
sort of
least
punishment. There needs
6
to be, yeah.
months for each body that was injured. I'm talking casualties, not deaths. Casualties. That means anybody wounded by that gunman, whoever seen that person's page, seen that they had posted that, and even if you didn't see it, I hate to be this way, but the safety of the many outweigh the safety of the one turd burglar. And then that guy should be swept up we really do. Another big problem of this is we have 2.5 million people in jail. A good portion of that we obviously know is African American, Latin, and who's the other? White people.
Yep.
So you have, again, the big three in America, the main three. We have the most people, the most skin in the game. We're getting played the most by the government because when these people when you get locked up, in the pen, not jail, it is a hell within itself. The government, they turn a blind eye to what's going on.
Oh, absolutely.
The people,
especially in this country, because it's a lot of the prisons are corporate prisons.
Yeah,
they're privately
again,
owned, which that's something that
what
needs
are
to
you
go
gonna
away.
do if
Because they don't benefit from rehabilitating people. They benefit from keeping the beds full.
40 or 60,000 a year per person?
It
come
might
on
even
now.
be more than that.
And when you get locked up, they pay the correctional officers very little money. And you want to know what? Usually the corrections officers are the same ilk of fucking person that is in the pen against their will. It's the same dude. These guys, go. I implore you to go look up some of these, ex-convicts. Go look up their YouTube channels. Yeah. Specifically listen to their stories, their horror stories. And the people that are there supposed to be rehabilitating them, they're not. It's more beneficial for these prisoners to be put on an old school chain gang than it is to do what we're doing now. Just having them sit there, get their commissary, which they use to gamble, which they use to trade. And, the way trading goes anywhere. This is how bartering works. If you need it, yeah, I'll give it to you. But I require 2 in return. We all know when we're getting food. If you don't bring that to me, yeah, of course not right off the bat there's going to be violence. But if you can't bring it to that person, what are you going to see? Violence. That shit erodes at the human psyche. And if it just keeps happening again and again and again and again, you will degrade that person's, mental capability to the point where they are mentally ill. They're only allowed 1 hour out on the yard, physical sunlight a day. You can't do that to people. We know this. Studies have been done. San Quentin had a program, I don't want to say like a decade ago, where the rich people in San Quentin is positioned in the North Bay. All around it are $1 million plus
well over $1 million homes.
They're around wealth, not rich people, wealthy people. And those people would be like, oh, what? I could participate in this program? All right, well, let me go to San Quentin. A very dangerous, maximum security. And I'll go shoot some b-ball with homeboy. I'll play some tennis, and then slowly over a couple months they find out, oh shit, he's in here for murder, and then you're a little like, oh whoa, well he doesn't seem like a murderer, and then it's all like, oh well, let me hear his story, and then when you hear it, it's all like, oh shit, that was legit. He was defending himself, but because of the way the prison is set up, his 5 years turned into 8. And then those 8 years turned into 12, and then that 12, oh, he killed somebody. Oh, damn. And they don't care why you killed him.
Just that you did.
Just that you killed him. He could have went berserk. He could have been, you stole my shit. I ain't steal nothing. You can have the same name as a fucking pedophile, and guess what? You're screwed. Because they're not going to come... I'm not going to come asking. This ain't a movie. Well, wait. I can explain. That's not going to happen. They're coming for you. You did something that is very low on the totem pole, when it comes to crimes, and murderers and thieves tend to not like rapists. And anybody who wants to say,
true.
well, you're all in there for crimes, it's all like, first off, most people...
There is a hierarchy,
yes,
too.
There's a very, very, very big difference.
And, you got crimes up here, and then all the way down here with the scum.
Because sex criminals don't...
Are the sex criminals.
They don't tend to go after... They're not going to go after him. They're not going to go after me. They're going to go after children and women. Specifically, easy women to go after. Which perplexes me why, the Republicans keep
predators.
fighting to have these laws. I mean, the Democrats are responsible for it too.
Yeah.
Where these guys barely get slaps on the wrist. If you're doing 2 years for molesting a child, and that guy got caught with 2 ounces, or not even 2 ounces, like 2 grams of weed, and he's doing 5 years, or even an ounce, because, the intent to sell, which is like, no, I'm sorry, if you smoke an ounce of weed, ain't that much. It really isn't. Even if you don't smoke, people tend to be like, well, it'll be cheaper if I just buy this, and then it'll last me a lot longer, and I'm not spending as much money. But fuck it. He deserves to go to jail for 10 years, and that's a big problem. Education. The reason, these politicians keep taking from education is if you're dumb, you're easy to lie to, you're easy to exploit, you're easy to trick to get to do something I want you to do. You're not going to argue, you're not going to fight, you're just going to do as you're told, which is what they want, which is why their kids go to private school.
Perfectly.
And why they want to privatize education, because if you privatize education, poor people won't be educated, then the only jobs available to them are low-paying labor jobs.
Keep that cycle going. They
don't...
talking about keeping education at such a point that it keeps people to where it's just do what I say and don't really, have your own brain, is getting into what happened in Uvalde, with the police standing outside of the school with an active shooter for upwards of an hour plus.
Well, those were businessmen. Those were businessmen who weighed risk versus reward. If I go in there and save these kids, what am I going to get? A medal? Nah, that's not enough. And on top of it, their pay should be a little bit higher. That way, when it comes to punishing them for not doing their fucking job, it is going to be a little bit more severe because they're not going to want to be fired. And you do need to fire cops. Make it easier for military personnel to slide into the policing role, because, trusting Johnny, Dump over here isn't a good idea, because he was most likely bullied. He's a little
and that
girl.
Is a lot of them.
And I mean, I shouldn't say that because people are going to get mad. He's a little...
he's a punk.
He's a little... Not even a punk, because that means I'm calling little girls punks.
Nah.
He's soft. That guy's soft. You insult him and it's all like, God, you just insulted me. I took it like a champ, and now I throw it back at you, and you're ready to fight. Growing up, we grew up in the Mission. Almost every inch of that place is gang territory, and the way it was designed was our high school, John O'Connell,
literally on the border.
Yeah, was where the all the Northerners went. All the Southerners went to Mission. That's the school they went to, and we would have brawls between them, the students. It wouldn't get to stabbing or shooting or even padlocks or anything. You want to know why? Because they're a little bit smarter. I knew kids. I seen him open his bag and seen the gun in his bag, loaded. The magazine was in there. There was nothing in the action. You want to know why? Because he's not dumb. I knew kids who wanted to kill other kids at the school, had the means to do it. Did they do it? No. You want to know why? Because they thought of the students around them. I'm not defending, gangbangers or anything. I just want you to understand, the person you're dealing with. These lone gunmen, these
they have no concept of life, of the other person's life.
They're just poor excuses of human beings.
Yeah.
They are. They have anybody who has very little value for life, period. Period. I can understand, an insect, there's a lot of them and we're conditioned to do it. But any small animal, anything, I tend to look at people, odd if you can just start killing a whole anthill, that isn't on your property, isn't destroying any, you're just killing to kill. That's a problem. Growing up playing there's scientific studies that have been done, especially towards like the late 90s, early 2000s, because everybody was saying violent games are creating violent children. No. They don't. They tend to teach kids, holy crap, if I was to do that, this is the consequence. The mass shooters, they know what the consequence is. They want it. They're slightly like someone who's suicidal. They're gonna let you know.
And in some cases, they are suicidal, and this is their way of doing it.
Yeah, this is the way I'm gonna go out.
That is the case with some of these mass shooters. Is I'm suicidal. Instead of killing myself, I'm gonna go out here and start popping people, and take people's lives until the cops come and shoot me, or somebody comes and stops me.
And
it's that's a special type of
permanent mentality. We all have it. You're all capable of it. Don't think that you're immune from murder. Nobody is. You'd be surprised at what passion can do for someone, what anger,
absolutely.
What rage will drive someone to do, what the very need to live will drive you to do some crazy crap and not mean it. You could punch somebody you were that scared, you're trying to protect yourself, and the punch killed him. Not him hitting the floor, the punch.
Mm-hmm.
It's happened. And it's happened from that 5'2" woman killed him. Yep. Caught him cold. He went out, hit the stair. That's all she wrote. Or caught him. He fell, hit the table, caught that metal piece on his head.
Boom.
She took off the second she hit him. He just bled out. Nobody seen him. But she wasn't raped. Or kidnapped. Everybody has the capacity to do anything any other human has ever done throughout history. Do not believe that anyone is incapable of doing such things. Kids have killed grown-ass men, fully capable of, murdering anybody. We're very resilient, but we're also very easy to kill.
The difference, though, is most of us understand the value of life.
Yes, and which brings it back to the cops at Uvalde. You, more than anybody, understood what these kids were experiencing, what they were going through, and you, like cowards. And I'm not. This is not for all police officers.
This is
for
you specifically.
Every officer.
That was on
everyone.
Site at Uvalde. Every single one of you, specifically you.
Save for the federal agents that when they finally got there were like, what the fuck? And ran into the building. All of you.
The shooter was stopped by an off-duty agent that was getting his hair cut. Heard what was going on. Grabbed the barber's gun. In his street clothes, ran into the school and took out the shooter. Meanwhile, cops, full tactical gear, assault weapons, everything.
You know what? What they should do, what the judge should do, what the federal government should do, is try each and every one of those cops as a fucking accomplice to that shooting.
Absolutely.
They legit stopped it. Heard continuous gunfire, had reports from children in the room on their phone, talking to dispatch, texting people, while they ran in there and grabbed their own children.
And left. They had enough capacity to go into the school and get their own kids, to get their own children out of harm's way, but leave everybody else's. We're both fathers.
Legit.
When I was reading these stories, when I was seeing the footage of the cops standing outside, keeping the parents from going in, I saw them taser drawn, facing the parents, not facing the school, facing the parents. Taser drawn. I saw them on top of two, handcuffing them.
You're a punk.
My blood was boiling.
You're a little bitch.
I was ready to go to Texas and slap the fuck out of them.
Now, any father who lost a child at Uvalde, you need to get the name of every cop. You need to show up at his house and tell him literally, as a man, you helped my child die. I don't care if they died in the first waning minutes.
It doesn't matter.
The beginning of the shooting or the waning. I'm holding you responsible. You need to get out here and take this ass whooping. And it's going to come every year on the anniversary of my child's death. And you better count your lucky stars that I'm not killing you. And, in all honesty, they should be put to death. Your job as a officer of the law is to protect and serve. Oh no, wait, I forgot. The federal government said that
no. Supreme Court said that.
The Supreme
Court. The Supreme Court said that
it's not. They don't have to.
Yeah.
So what the fuck? Why are my tax dollars paying for them then?
So what are you? A fucking ticket taker? That's it. You're a fucking meter maid.
You're by you saying that, you're literally telling me that we have entered a new phase of totalitarianism in the United States, that the cops are not there to protect you, they're there to serve the wealthy. They're here to do their bidding. Whatever money you have, they want to take to give to them. Because why is it important for a cop to give out traffic tickets? Why is he doing that? Why is that important? Why is it important for a cop to pull me over for my registration being slightly... that hasn't happened to me. But why?
It does happen.
Yeah, why? Your job is to go after and protect people that actually have shit going on. When my childhood friend, George Cheesehead, go Packers just for him, when he died, the cops were 6 blocks away at General Hospital. That is a major hospital in San Francisco. There's always sheriff or some type of PD out front. It took them 20 minutes to get there. 20 minutes, which on my bike is a 2-minute drive. You telling me you couldn't get there sooner? He was dead. He unloaded the clip into him. But still, 6 blocks. Oh, well, we don't want to get... stuck in an active shooter situation. Then do not become an officer of the law.
Then what do you need to carry a firearm for?
Why do you have less training to be a cop than I do, than he does to become massage therapist? That's mind-boggling. I got not even 2,000 hours. 1,800. Well, I guess 2,000 if you include the externship hours. But other than that, why? Why am I comparable to this dude who's supposed to know how to draw his weapon, which a lot of them don't even know how to do that?
Yeah, a lot of them struggle to qualify at the range.
And this is coming from a police officer, someone who knows how to shoot. He's a competition shooter. And when he's at the range, he's watching these guys like, he literally want to give the gun to him or me before giving it to his fellow officers. That's a problem. Allowing cops to consistently perform incredibly bad at their job and let them get off. Just whatever. No,
there does need to be reform with the police.
I understand that their job is hard, but at the same time, if you never do it properly, that's a problem with the training. And that's, again, payment. We need a itemized list that's published every year on the front of the Chronicle saying, and I want to know how much you get paid. And the same with BART. But that's,
that's not part of this
That's
topic.
not part of it. And the other thing, BART, you don't need BART cops. Because whenever I seen them needed, it took the same amount of time it would a normal cop to get there. If you're not going to post these useless sons of bitches at the station, how many stations are there? 20?
Something like that, yeah.
How many cops do you have? You don't need a car. You call the local PD so the local PD could come and pick him up, get whatever reports you have, and then report back. In fact, there should be no BART PD. There should be the police, and wherever your station is, that's where they are. My money does not need to be going towards some dude who literally just walks up and down the platform. I see you guys. You walk up and down the platform, not doing a goddamn thing. Walk into a car. I mean, you could clearly see they're smoking. You could clearly see they were smoking. You can't walk up to them and just be like, get off. I gotta go to work in the morning. I don't need to be smelling like cigarettes or weed.
Or crack.
Like, come on, man. Do your jobs. And I don't ever see you during rush hour. No. I always see you during these dumb times when there's nobody on the platform and anybody who's going to act in a misbehaving manner, they're going to be on their P's and Q's. Every time I've seen something go down, it was an actual BART employee who was looking for the guy, not the PD. Then all of a sudden, you guys show up light years later. It's like, come on, dude. You're useless. And to the same extent, I hate to say it, but a lot of cops are useless.
A lot are.
They're literally there.
That's not to say that all are. That's not to say
no.
that all are. And it is a necessary mechanism, having a police force. But
that's not what I'm saying.
But the way that
do your job better.
The way that it's done, you need to be held accountable for your actions. It's really that simple. You start holding them accountable for their actions, you will weed out the ones that do not belong there, and the ones that do belong there will get noticed. And they'll be noticed for the right reasons. And they'll be noticed for doing the right things.
Their job. There's a big difference between policing now and, in the 70s and 80s. Was it shittier back then? Yes. How many people were shot by cops back then? Not to mention, Joseph Biden, you really need to do police reform. I don't care what Republicans say. They're useless. They're carpet bagging, chicken hawks that care nothing about money. They don't even care about their own constituents. They throw them under the bus consistently. And
every time.
Anytime they say anyone else is doing something, that's them dry snitching on themselves. I don't want.
It's trying to get out ahead of it. The Democrats to put all the eyes on that person.
Yeah, the Democrats are grooming children. Meanwhile, you see left and right, these guys are legit
and again,
and
we've
making
said it
laws
so
they can impregnate 14-year-olds, marry
and to be fair,
14-year-olds.
That's not to say that the Democrats aren't doing this.
No, I don't speak in absolutes. I'm not a Sith. When I say shit, there's obviously exceptions to the rule. But for the most part, when I'm lumping people in together like that, that's because a good portion of them think that way.
Absolutely.
Or that way. And I'm not going to do this And listen, granted, I don't know all of the United States, but a lot of conservatives I speak to have the same stupid talking points that when I'm like, go research it. Don't go to conservative websites. Don't go to liberal websites. Go to websites that are run by, I don't know, the BBC, but that's liberal. It's like, that's not our politics. They don't go off of what we go off of. And everybody, again, get off this woke kick. Anytime you see anything woke and it's obviously, dumb, that again is people who don't care about the situation hijacking a movement to make
profit.
money and to undermine what it's doing.
Yeah,
They
exactly.
don't care.
It's a twofold. Damn, my voice is all
Why do you
fucked up
think?
today.
Yeah, why do you
It's
think?
a twofold. It's for profit, and then to undermine it so that it can eventually disappear, and then it'll just latch on like a fucking parasite to the next thing. That's what these people are. They're parasites.
That's what they do.
They go to healthy hosts, latch on, take everything they can from it, kill it, and then latch on to the next one.
And then, tell all their supporters that it's the Democrats, it's the Democratic states. Because last time I checked, Texas, California, Nevada, well, I think Nevada, are they Democratic state? Well,
They did swing,
they did, but
blue this last election, but traditionally they tend to be more.
California, we pay into the federal system a lot. Texas, a lot of these Republican states, you don't pay shit because you don't make shit. You Republicans, whether they like to admit it or not, you guys are on a welfare plan. All you Republican states, you get your welfare from California, from Florida, from New York, where our GDP is in literally the 4.4 billion or trillion. We're in a high range. You guys, you're barely
has
producing
more citizens
shit.
than Canada.
Oh yeah, we have a lot. And a lot of that, and what people need to understand is, there may be a lot of Californians leaving, but there are a lot more that aren't, and there's even more of you from red states moving in to California. Why? Because there's jack shit in your states, because your leaders want to make it to where you work all day and make $1 while they make money hand over fist. And then you're like,
Mitch McConnell.
Why can't I get ahead?
McConnell.
Oh, I'll move to California where I can actually, where you have help. That's the problem is, yes, the federal government is meant to help. Do they want people to be on their own 2 feet? Yes, they do. Why would anybody want to openly, all the time, have to pay for somebody? The Republicans know that. They know it. That's the shit that they tout all the time. What they don't say is, even though their business is doing real well, they're still getting subsidies from the government. Why is it okay for, me to fail, but it's not okay for them to fail? When they literally were aiming to fail to be bailed out. They do that all the time. And again, this is where...
you see companies start, like big corporations start smaller companies for the purpose of failing, so they can write it off. Sometimes they succeed, and it's just like, oh, well, shit. Let's just ride this out then. But they start a lot of businesses for the sole purpose of failure, so they can write it off in their taxes.
And that is where, we need... That contributes to undermining the fundamental principles of the United States. It's, for the people, by the people. It isn't for fucking corporations by, most of the American public. No, that's not the way it goes. And if I was you, I'd seriously consider, starting to go the other way, because like at every point in history, it's gonna get bad, and you're gonna be the one who's gonna pay, because it's when that pendulum swings, it's gonna be replaced with a weight, or that weight's gonna be replaced with the sword, and now it's the sword of Damocles, and it's coming for your neck. Because if our economy falls to the point where we're no longer a major power, you better believe I will personally hunt you down wherever you are, whatever country you are, and you will be extinguished. Because that's not fair for you to legit make out the entire time you're fucking over your own country, and then when shit hits the fan, bye. That's not cool. And you Midwesterners and everybody who votes, along ideological lines, and I know a lot of people met a lot of people on the coasts, and a lot of them, despite what you believe, they're not liberal leaning. They lean to where I lean. I don't do shit because people tell me. I do shit because, that's what I think. It just so happens to line up with what the Democrats do, because they're not openly trying to steal from me. They're not openly trying to take rights from me like you are. Make up shit like, there's voter fraud, when literally the investigation's done. Republicans are the only one who are, and I shouldn't say the only ones, but when you look at the numbers, you've perpetrated it more than anybody. You're the enemy. I hate to say this because you're my countryman,
reports are out
but
there.
You are the enemy. You keep undermining everything we do. Your party's dying because you're old. You hold old views that do not grow, and you are. I don't care. You cannot tell me otherwise. You're white supremacist. The higher ups are. I can't speak for everyone down below, but you can definitely see the higher ups are. You can't tell me, because John Boehner literally almost called Obama the N-word when he won. Look at his face.
His face definitely said it.
He was
his
hot
face said it. His mouth may not have said it, but his face sure as hell did.
And the second Obama won, I was like, damn, we're about to get a racist next term. And lo and behold, they knew what they were doing. They went after Trump.
That wasn't an accident.
That was not an accident. They wanted somebody to spout all of that bull. All of it. Every single drop of it. They loved it. They love it. They hate paying anyone. They hate paying white people. Why you think they go after immigrants? Because you can get one and then kick them out. All right, whatever. Yet they're the first ones to say, hire American first. Yet they never do. You're dealing every one of them.
Or if they do, they hire the stupidest one they can find, so they can point to them and see, this is why you don't want to hire them.
And then they're kicked out. Democrats are they're slightly better.
And we're talking minute,
slightly.
Slightest sliver.
I really don't like them either. You're both, you're.
I mean,
petty.
Really, if you dig into it, they're two sides of the same coin.
They are. They're petty, and they're just about them making money. They're literally, they're in my opinion, they are all, Benedict Arnolds. You're all traitors. I don't care.
That's an insult to Benedict Arnold.
That is an insult to Benedict, because he actually fought for us. The only reason he turned coat was because Horatio...
He got fucked over.
Yeah, Horatio Gates, some idiot, literally the commander above, I think, what was he? He was he wasn't a brigadier general at that time. He was a colonel or a major, whatever.
Yeah.
But he literally created a navy out of nothing.
Benedict Arnold, that is.
Benedict
Arnold, not Horatio Gates.
Horatio Gates was a loser. He
Benedict Arnold
built a navy, went up, fought the world's greatest navy, won, then sailed those boats, or either parked them and then had to march down because they couldn't sail down, or sailed down, parked, and then marched to a whole nother motherfucking battle, helped win that. He was a big part of the reason why Saratoga was won. He was told, no, stay here. He seen that we were about to get outflanked, and he was like, can't stay here. Grabbed his brigade, went and handled that, situation, kept the colonial army from getting, wiped out, because Gates was an idiot. Then he even kind of was like, oh, what do we do? Benedict Arnold got shot in the leg, was messed up, I'm not sure if he fell from his horse or just got shot in the leg. While he was recovering, Horatio Gates takes all the credit. Now, this is a problem that persists to this day.
Today.
If you're a person in a leadership role, you really need to do your due diligence on what your subordinates are doing, especially if they are in a leadership role. Because anyone who steals the ideas or the success of someone else, they are ill-fitted for the position. You are promoting someone or putting responsibility in someone's hands who's ill-fit to do it. And if you find that out, they should be punished to the full extent of, even make a new law and, push that extent. Because that has cost militaries campaigns. It has cost, countries their literal, or I should say, kingdoms their literal existence.
Yeah.
You hire someone who doesn't know what they're doing. They take the credit for the success of someone else, and they can't cognitively understand what that person did to make that happen. They don't get it. Horatio Gates is a small, example of that. There's many. Military history is the best to point that out because the outcomes are very, very dramatic. And that's what we're dealing with here. A lot of people in politics today are there because of networking, because of the good old boy club. A lot of people in the positions they are in corporate America, it's not through hard work.
No.
The people that work hard...
There was hard work 2 generations ago.
Not even that, because
I'm saying for those
right.
people to establish those lines, those connections, there was hard work 2 generations ago to set that up.
But they closed that door the second they came through it because they don't believe in anyone else coming up.
No. I'm just saying for the people that are in power today,
for the people that are in power,
that track was laid by their grandparents, setting up those lines of communication between those groups.
And, one of the reasons why people didn't like Kennedy is, let's be honest, because his dad was a bootlegger who worked with black people. That's one of the chief reasons they don't like the Kennedys. They worked with blacks. And we all know back then they all had a really, really big hard-on for hating anybody with a darker skin. It's your insecurities are very blatant. Very fucking blatant. And it's really, the American, white man who has those insecurities, who gets pissed off at the fact that motherfuckers are saying Black Lives Matter. White lives matter too. It's like, dude, white people ain't getting shot by the cops.
Well, not just that.
A ridiculous clip.
I always took it as an implied too.
Yeah, I don't understand why you can't do that. Not to mention...
And it isn't saying that only Black Lives Matter.
Yeah, considering they literally held rallies for white kids who were murdered by cops. Children. Did the media go to any of those rallies? No. Because it doesn't.
And that's not to say that organization isn't a flawed organization.
Every organization is flawed. Look at UNICEF. They rob from people all the time.
Yeah, they do.
They're a garbage organization. So is Goodwill. So is Salvation Army. Go
March
look them
of
up.
Dimes. The reason they call it March of Dimes is because a dime out of every dollar goes to the cause.
Well, what it was supposed to be, what it started as, was President Roosevelt had polio. We needed to get rid of polio. We needed money for the vaccine. So, hey, kids, if you send in a dime to the White House, we can get more funding to help pump this through. Because before that, philanthropy was largely taken, or being taken care of by the rich. Until Roosevelt did that, it was open to the public. And he literally said, send it in to the White House. All of America's children sent in dimes to the White House. I want to say it was like $16 million or something. Was
something like that, yeah.
A lot of dimes were collected. And, we stomped out polio. Or I shouldn't say we stomped it out. We almost had it stomped out, and then people would just, again, people are stupid. They're corrupt. Well, I don't see it. It doesn't seem like it's everywhere. Yeah, but the expert is saying keep doing this for another 2 years and it'll be gone. But, this moron who I'm a good businessman and I'm looking at the numbers and the numbers say that we don't need it. Yeah, you're looking at business, monetary numbers, you fucking idiot. You're not looking at all the other data. You're looking at one sheet. That's why you can't trust these people. They look at one thing that matters to, or a few things that matter to them, and making money. A good portion why we are swamped with microplastics. I got bad news for everybody. The human race is probably going to die because of our dependence on plastic. It's literally found in your genes. Do you know what that means? That's bad. It's in, if you're a male, it's in our sperm now. It's literally, when you bust your load, there's little pieces of plastic in there. That means in her womb with your child is little pieces of plastic floating. There's so much plastic now, they say we consume about a credit card's worth of plastic a week. Do you understand what that means? We have 4% of the world's wildlife left. Do you get what that means? There's 7 billion humans. China, stop. India, stop. You have more than enough people. You have no way of feeding them. You're literally shitting on the street. Come on now. You don't see a problem with that? Your industrial pollution is so bad. The fecal waste in that country is so bad. The Ganges doesn't move. And this, I'm not getting on the country, I'm getting on humanity. We are all intertwined. If I dump...
What one does affects another.
And yeah, we had the bright idea, and by we I mean the United States. Oh shit, we got a bunch of radioactive waste. I know what, let's dump it in the ocean. Nobody goes there. Yeah, genius. Genius thinking. Oh, we'll recycle. As America, we need to be more keep our eye on our recycling so we're not damaging, the earth. Well, let's recycle and then sell that recycling to China, who then barely recycles any of it and dumps most of it into rivers, which then those rivers go into the ocean, which then the ocean, last time I checked, is pretty big. We got, how big is that plastic patch?
Oh shit, I don't even know how
it's
big it is.
It's bigger than Hawaii.
It's very large.
And it's all like, dude...
And it's just debris. It's just garbage.
And these people don't want to get off it. That will not decompose. No. Or it will. It'll just take forever. And
but
again,
when it decomposes,
where does it go?
Yeah.
I just told you. Goes into the animals. And who knows what effects it's having on them. When we run out of food, we're screwed. They're doing 3D printing meat. You want to know why? Because we're running out of meat. All the methane, all this, our dependence on meat needs to be curtailed, especially here in America, because the way we do our factory farming, it is very, very bad, not only for the animals, but for us. You want to know why hunters tend to want to get a clean kill? Number one, it's fucking humane and nobody wants to die in a painful way, and the faster the animal dies, the tastier the meat. Cortisol is a disgusting hormone. It does not taste good. Nobody likes it. You ruin the meat.
And that's what a lot of these factory farming is doing.
And go look it up. There's I think it's a pork factory. If the pigs they don't meet the requirement by 1 pound, you know what they do with them? They just throw them into a big ass, they don't even kill them. They just throw them into a big dumpster and let the weight of the other pigs kill them. And the weight is so immense that the pigs on bottom get squashed. So your fully intact body then pops, and blood and guts and all your shit pop out. That is literally what these people are, and the people that work there are very inhumane. If you watch what they're doing to these animals, it's on par with what the Nazis did, with what the Syrians were doing to their own people, on par with what, the Russians were doing to the Jews during World War II. And yes, they contributed in that.
Yes, they did.
The Soviet Union should not be praised as someone who helped defeat Nazis, because not only did they help them invade Poland, but before the Molotov-Ribbentrop pact, or whatever, I think that's the name, the two names, before that pact was, completely just torn apart, the Soviets were like, hey, we'd like to join, the Axis powers, but because Hitler was fanatic about hating communists, He just never got back to him. Finland, neutral. Norway, neutral. Oh, no, not Norway. What is it? It's Finland, and what's next to him? Is it Norway? Whatever. You guys know your geography. The Soviets went in there, and the Nazis went in there too. And they both invaded that country. So they should not be given any praise for what they did in World War II, especially since legit all you did was send motherfuckers to go die.
Literally.
Bullet
He would get
shields.
the gun, I would get the bullets.
And when I dropped or he dropped, grab what he dropped. Don't
That was
turn
it.
around or
And if you turn around and run, you're going to get shot.
And all the factories that they had. Guess who built most of their factories? The United States. Showed them how to build them. In some cases, their populace, their engineers didn't have the education or the know-how. So American engineers went over and built their factories. A good number of their factories were built here in the United States.
And shipped.
And then shipped over for them to just assemble. You know, what you did, I'll give you, it was mighty impressive to move something like 1,800 factories from, Western Europe to then Asia. That, I'll give you, that was great. That was one hell of a thing. But, again, you would have fell if I didn't give you ammunition, if I didn't give you food, if I didn't give you bandages, if I didn't give you plasma, if I didn't give you trucks, tanks, planes, fuel, steel, name it. We produced everything. I'm not saying the United States alone won, but the Soviet Union, you're getting way too much credit. Not to mention, in all the material aid we gave you, we legit were like, all right, go ahead, take Berlin.
Yeah,
which was
so
dumb.
you get the credit for taking
I believe,
Berlin.
That was one of Eisenhower's dumbest fucking mistakes. I get it, but Patton was right. You go after them. If we stop giving them material, how are they going to fight? Why would they not open up another front against the Japs? And by the time, let's see, 2 weeks in to Operation Barbarossa, when the Nazis went into Russia, they went in with 3 million. The Soviets had about 1.8 to 2.2. They're outnumbered. 2 weeks in, the Germans were sitting at about, 2 million. And the Soviets just kept stacking their numbers. So you had the numbers. And, the scary thing is the Nazis were still pushing them back. They could have opened up another front against the Japanese, even if it was a lazy front. They didn't. You know why? Because they could not. I don't think they had the military, wherewithal to fight on two fronts, to be honest.
No, not at all. They didn't. I mean, like you were saying, the vast majority of their military were conscripts. They didn't want to be there.
And Stalin literally froze for 2 weeks while the Germans invaded the country. He curled into a little ball and stood in his room in the fetal position for 2 weeks until someone finally was like, hey man, I have a plan, which probably was not his plan. That's probably the real reason why he was afraid of Zhukov, because Zhukov was probably the one who busted in there and grabbed him by the throat and was like, listen, you little bitch, get in gear. Because Stalin was a thug. He wasn't military. He was just a communist thug. Like most communists, he was a thug. Not socialist. There's a difference.
There is a difference. Socialists and communists are not the same fucking thing.
They're not the same thing.
They're not the same thing.
And what made the United States great in the 50s was socialist democracy, which is what we had. And then we went to this, shit where, I gotta pay everybody, equal. F that. F women. F blacks. You know what? F you, white dude. I'm taking my business elsewhere. We're gonna go to Mexico. No, you know what? We're not gonna go to Mexico. We're gonna go to China. Because, Nixon had such a great idea. Like, I truly... I don't care what anybody says. Nixon opening the door to China was not good for the United States. Look at what it got us now. What this moron got paid at the expense of the United States. Why? Their economy would be nothing if we did not literally ship shit over to them know that they're criminal. They literally invented organized crime. And you're going to send businesses over to a communist government? Like, come on, dude. Historically, that government is someone you shouldn't trust. Why would you all of a sudden be like, all right, we can trust these commies. We'll make a lot of money off. But you're not, again, Eisenhower, Nixon. You're going to open up, ties with China, who's commie, but you're not going to open up ties with Cuba, who is commie, who came to us hands open asking for help. You don't tell me they were commie, it's because they were brown. Don't fucking lie to me. I'm not dumb. And your hate, your active hate for the brown man has literally screwed us when it comes to these commies in Asia. Mainly the Chinese. Because you weren't doing any of this with the Russians. You knew what brought the Russians down. And you're literally going to abandon that game plan when it comes to the communist Chinese? And then, when it comes to supporting a real democracy, we get bullshit like, I do like how Biden was like, yep, you better believe China, you invade, we're going to be right there.
Yep.
And then the White House comes out, well, no, that's not what he meant. I would literally, as the president, come out and say,
that's exactly
what I meant. I am not no little girl.
Step foot in Taiwan. Yeah,
I'm not a coward. I'm not afraid politically. If you want to do this, I'm not going to do that. In fact, it's pretty certain there's a certain principle held in government that no two major governments, economies that are engaged in economic warfare, light political warfare like we are, and there is a black war going on in Africa between the Western world and China. The only problem is our stupid government likes to get involved in Latin American countries in the 50s, but now real commie threats are in Latin America. Oh, we're going to stay away. China's legit taking whole gold mines and precious metal mines in South America. Venezuela.
Taking them.
They're not, it's literally just theft. They're not to be trusted. If you're a small business that does business with them, you really need to come off it. Find someone else, because they are literally actively working to make sure you fall on your ass. Xi Jinping has said out of his mouth that we are the enemy. Why are we actively working with them? That makes no sense. None. Cyber attacks from them. Do you see our government trying to beef up any of our cybersecurity?
Cybersecurity
they say they are.
This country is a fucking joke.
It's a joke.
It's a joke.
And it's sad because, again, you have the wrong people up top making decisions that honestly, they're inept. What do you know about defending the country when you literally undermine every bit of it for profit, for your sole profit? I shouldn't say that. Your friends are making out too.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you and your cronies are making money.
Rich people are not going to defend the United States. To be honest, I seriously doubt them, because remember, during World War II, I bought bonds and I fought. He bought bonds and he fought. If they own most of the wealth, they're not going to be buying bonds unless you tell them, all right, if you buy it in the future, I'll give you back your money plus some. Do you see me doing that? Nope. There you go. Let's make it happen. I'm actually for the team. They're not. Elon ain't. He ain't even from this fucking country. What the fuck does he care? He'll make money and he'll bolt.
That's something that I would like to get into too. And we're running a little long here, so we can get into it later. But I want to throw it out there is this nationalistic view parading as false patriotism.
Look at how many immigrants
faux patriotism
own homes in our country. I'm totally for you becoming a citizen and owning a home. I don't believe you should own a home coming from another country. Because if you're poor and you do it, I don't care. You're literally in my same boat, but that's not what happens. What happens is you get a wealthy foreigner come to America to make sure that their money is safe, hide it, because guess what? They live in another country. When they get paid by American money, their money goes even longer So you're, again, as an American, I'm paying a foreigner to live in my own fucking country. Yet you claim to be a patriot. Like, dude, that's the shit that kills me. And anybody...
And there's a lot of countries where foreign entities can't
own
own
homes.
property.
As an American, I can't own a home in that country, but their countrymen can own property
And again,
in my
that's not to say that an immigrant coming over here, becoming a citizen, and working his ass off, and his or her ass off, and buying a house is a problem. That's not a problem at all. That's the American dream.
But you need to be an American who lives here in
Exactly.
America.
It's there's a part of the reason that there's such a housing crisis is you have Chinese corporations, not just China,
but
not just
them,
China,
it's
but
the
they're
best way to
buying
hide their
they're
money.
buying property here as investments.
When the housing, when the economy was crashing in China in 2017, 2016, when they had that big economic crash, they literally forced the wealthiest people in the country to buy $20 million of stock, garbage stock. They made them do it. They just took it. And I can tell you, when we both worked at the airport at the time, there was so many Chinese people here, legit, just 2-3 bags full of portfolios that thick of homes to just buy. They were polite, they tipped the best shit, they were better tippers than our own countrymen. They were polite, they were cool. I'm not knocking them for hiding their money. I mean, I would be doing it too. The problem is they were allowed to do it. Now, if I was one of those people who were bidding on that home,
allow them to do it, but you got to live in the house.
Don't allow them to do it because, one, they're communist. Don't allow any communist from a country that openly said that we are the enemy, and you have got to join their military the second you become of age. That's why they have the largest military. They're there for like 2 years and then they're gone. But if you're indoctrinated, and it's been proven many times, you send spies to your enemy. Do not fucking think without a doubt that they're not here spying on us right now. Any corporation, anything that you do, they are spying. That's what that corporation, or that's what that corporation does. They don't care about anybody but the party. They literally have the party above their people. They bragged in their newspaper about a dude killing his wife, brutally murdering her because he said that she said, something ill about the state. They were happy that he murdered her. That's a problem. You think they don't care about us here? You don't think the people that are fanatic about that aren't willing to come here and do what some of these active shooters are doing? I heard, the government don't let this come out, but they were, we don't know who did it, but here in California and several other states, they were shooting at transformers. You know what a transformer is? That's how we get electricity. They were doing it at a substation. So that means they were taking out power for a region, and they did it multiple times. So what does that tell you? Our politicians are not fit to, I should say, the senior politicians are not fit to be there anymore. They've been corrupted. No. A lot of them have been corrupted by money and these lobbyists. But beyond that, if I'm a foreign entity that does not want the United States to stand and know that I cannot go up against them in a conventional war, then what do? You do what they've been doing. Modified warfare, economic warfare, which is they've been conducting, cyber warfare, which is what they've been conducting, biological warfare, which is what they have been conducting. What the fuck do you think coronavirus was? The only problem was they couldn't keep it contained. It was an accident. What did the Japanese try and do during World War II? Infest Americans with Ebola using fleas and balloons sent from Asia. Now, I'm just, the thought is within the same realm. And biological warfare is extremely illegal. I mean, we all still do it because you better believe if it comes to it, we're gonna fucking start launching them all over the place. And they're again, our politicians are unfit to protect us from this menace. They've showed it many times before. Ooh, and we just lost audio on the podcast. This guy let the fucking laptop die. Fired.
Wow. Well, on that note,
yeah, we'll hit you guys up later. We're gonna try and get some more videos. We were supposed to do this today, but talking about shooting and stuff, we're gonna try NMRE. Apparently this is a new one. We're gonna try it out and let my uncle know if they're good, and then he'll let them know if they're good. And it's solely on me, so if this is good, they're gonna make it. That's a lie.
That's a complete lie. But it would be funny.
Hey, and I don't know if you're gonna see this, but it would be cool if Lil Wayne was to make a song or a remix of damn, what was it? Not Oh My Darling. Oh Susanna. Do that. Do an upgraded version of old Western songs and old school songs. If anybody could do it, dude, it's you. And it would be really cool and really weird to hear a rap song to the style of Oh Susanna. It'd be fucking retarded. But if anybody can make it sound good, pretty sure it's you, bro. And then Eminem, you can get like a harder song. All right. Bye.
Later.